The clink of glasses and the sharp rise of laughter echoed through the dining hall like a cruel chorus. I stood near the table, clutching a silver tray stacked with steaming dishes, my hands trembling so badly I thought the plates might crash to the floor. "Hannah!" My mother's voice rang out, smooth but cutting. "Don't just stand there. Bring the food around. You can at least handle that, can't you?" The room erupted with muffled snickers. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. Sabrina, my older sister, leaned back in her seat with a glass of wine, her lipstick-perfect smile dripping with superiority. "Careful, everyone," she said loudly. "Hannah's not known for balance. Wouldn't want dinner on your laps." The laughter that followed struck harder than a slap. My throat tightened. I forced one step forward, then another, the weight of the tray pressing into my arms like a punishment. I tried to keep my eyes low, tried to disappear, but the sting of their judgment wrapped around me. "Over here, Hannah," my Aunt Diana called, snapping her fingers like I was some hired help. "Potatoes first? And hurry up, some of us are starving." Heat rushed up my neck. I wanted to scream. To tell them I wasn't their servant, wasn't their charity case, wasn't the shadow they could push around. But my voice caught, locked by years of silence. My hands shook harder. Then, without warning, a hand covered mine. Ethan, my husband. His grip was steady, warm, grounding me in that storm of humiliation. His chair scraped back as he stood, towering in quiet defiance. The room fell into stunned silence. Without looking at them, he slid the tray out of my shaking hands, set it down with deliberate calm, and reached for me. His fingers laced through mine like steel chains, unbreakable. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence was thunder. With a sharp inhale, he pulled me to his side. And then, step by step, he walked us both out of that room, past Sabrina's frozen smirk, past my mother's parted lips, past Diana's shocked stare. The only sound was Ethan's shoes against the hardwood. Each strike a defiance, each stride a refusal to bow. When the door shut behind us, the world outside was cold, the night air biting my skin. My knees wavered, but Ethan didn't let me fall. He held me firm, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with quiet rage. "You don't serve them," he said, voice low, fierce. "Not now. Not ever again." Something inside me cracked open. My shame burned hot, but beneath it, something new sparked, an ember I hadn't felt before. I wasn't sure if it was strength or fury or both. But I knew this. They had humiliated me for the last time, and they would regret underestimating me. The phone lit up that night like a warning flare. First came the call from Sabrina, then my mother, then Diana. One after another, their names burned across the screen, and every time, Ethan hit decline. His face stayed calm, but the tightening of his jaw told me everything. "They don't deserve our words," he muttered, setting the phone face down on the counter. I sat on the couch, knees drawn to my chest, staring at my reflection in the black window. My cheeks were still flushed from earlier, but it wasn't embarrassment anymore. It was heat, a slow fire building in my chest. For years, I had let them mock me. I had let their words define me. The failure, the clumsy one, the girl who never measured up. Tonight had been their masterpiece of cruelty, the grand finale of all the little humiliations they'd piled on me over the years. But Ethan's silence, his simple act of walking me out, it had lit something in me, something they couldn't smother. The phone buzzed again. This time, Ethan turned it toward me. Lorraine's name flashed. "My mother. Answer if you want," Ethan said, his voice steady. "But remember, you owe them nothing." I hesitated, then pressed decline. My chest rose and fell with a strange, shaky laugh. "That felt good," Ethan smirked, sliding an arm around my shoulders. "Good, let it sink in. They'll call again. They'll text. They'll try to guilt you. But they can't touch you anymore unless you let them." As if on cue, the text started pouring in. From Sabrina. Wow. Dramatic exit, much? You embarrassed Mom tonight. Typical. From Lorraine. Hannah, you need to apologize. Family doesn't just storm out like that. From Diana. Ungrateful. After all we've done for you? Serving food is beneath you? Grow up. My hands trembled as I read them, but this time not with fear, with anger. I could almost hear their voices in those words, dripping with contempt, blind to the humiliation they had thrown at me. Ethan leaned in close, his lips brushing my ear. Delete them. Don't give them the satisfaction. But I didn't delete them. Not yet. I stared at those texts, memorizing every word. Because someday soon I wanted to read them again, not as a victim, but as someone who had risen above all of it. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed the party in vivid detail. Sabrina's smirk, my mother's smug tone, Diana's snapping fingers. Every sound, every glance replayed like a film I couldn't switch off. At one point, Ethan rolled over, eyes half open. Still awake? Yes, I whispered. He touched my hand gently. What are you thinking? I stared into the dark. That I've wasted years letting them define me. That I've swallowed every insult, every laugh at my expense. And that tonight? Tonight might have been the last time. Ethan's eyes softened, but his voice carried that quiet steel I had always admired. Then let it be the last time. You don't need to fight them with words. You fight by living better, stronger, smarter. I nodded, my chest tightening. He was right. Screaming at them wouldn't change anything. But showing them I was no longer the weak girl they toyed with? That would odd. The next morning I made coffee and opened my laptop. For once, I didn't avoid my reflection in the screen. Instead, I leaned closer, studying the woman staring back at me. Tired eyes. Bruised pride? But there was something else there too. Resolve, and for the first time in a long time, I whispered to myself, they don't own me anymore. The phone buzzed again. Another text from Sabrina. We're meeting tonight. Don't make this worse by ignoring us. Be there. I stared at it for a long moment. My fingers hovered over the screen. Ethan came into the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. Another demand? Yeah, I said softly, showing him the text. He read it, then gave me a small nod. If you go on your terms, not theirs. I exhaled slowly, a strange calm washing over me. Maybe it was time. Not to apologize, not to beg, but to show them something they'd never expected. Because the girl they mocked last night was gone, and the woman walking into that room tonight would not tremble again. The restaurant buzzed with chatter, silverware clinking against plates, glasses toasting under dim light. My stomach knotted as I walked in, Ethan at my side. Sabrina had chosen the most crowded place in town. Of course she had. She wanted an audience. At the back table, they waited. Sabrina, lounging with her glass of wine. My mother, Lorraine, lips pursed tight. Aunt Diana, leaning forward like a judge about to deliver a sentence. Sabrina spotted us first. She waved, a smirk tugging at her lips. Well, look who finally decided to show up. I slid into the empty chair, Ethan sitting beside me. I kept my shoulders straight, my face calm. My hands didn't shake this time. Lorraine cleared her throat. Hannah, last night was unacceptable. Family doesn't walk out in the middle of dinner. You humiliated us. My chest tightened, but I didn't flinch. I didn't humiliate anyone, I said evenly. I just refused to play your servant. Diana scoffed, rolling her eyes. You're overreacting. It was a joke. Everyone pitches in sometimes. No, I said, my voice sharper now. It wasn't a joke. It was a display. You wanted me small. You wanted me trembling in front of your friends. And you enjoyed it. Sabrina leaned forward, smirking. Oh, come on. Don't act like a martyr. You've always been sensitive. You can't handle a little teasing, and suddenly you think you're above us. The word above struck me like a dare. I glanced at Ethan, who sat stone-faced, letting me take the lead. My pulse raced, but not from fear, from fire. I've let you tear me down for years, I said, meeting Sabrina's eyes. You called me useless, clumsy, weak, and I believed it. I carried it. But last night, when Ethan took my hand and walked me out, I realized I don't have to carry it anymore. Lorraine's expression hardened. You're being dramatic. We raised you, gave you everything. And this is how you repay us? By turning against family? I laughed under my breath, quiet, bitter. Family protects each other. Family doesn't put one of their own on display like a servant at a dinner table. You've mistaken control for love, Lorraine. And I'm done playing the part you wrote for me. The table went still. Sabrina blinked, caught off guard by the edge in my tone. Diana's smirk faltered. For the first time in years, I wasn't shrinking. I was towering. Sabrina tried to recover, swirling her wine. So what now, Hannah? You walk away and never look back. You think you're better than us because your husband stepped in to save you? Ethan's voice cut through the air, low but commanding. She didn't need saving. She just needed reminding of who she is. The words landed heavy. My chest swelled. I turned back to them. You asked me here tonight to scold me, to drag me back into my place. But I'm not here to apologize. I'm here to tell you, you don't get to decide my worth anymore. Not you, not Sabrina, not anyone. Lorraine's face flushed red, her voice trembling with fury. If you walk away from this family, Hannah, don't expect us to be here when you come crawling back. I leaned in slightly, my voice calm, almost cold. That's the difference. I won't be crawling anywhere. The silence that followed was suffocating. Even the clatter of dishes from nearby tables seemed to fade. For once, they didn't have a comeback. I pushed my chair back and stood, Ethan rising with me. My pulse thundered, but I didn't tremble. My hands were steady. My voice steady. My resolve unshakable. I looked directly at Sabrina, her smirk finally cracked. You wanted me to serve you dinner. Instead, I served you the truth. Ethan took my hand, just like the night before. We walked out, step by step, leaving them behind in their silence. This time, though, it wasn't just an escape. It was a statement, because I knew something they didn't. This was only the beginning. The days that followed were strangely quiet. No more endless calls, no more texts demanding apologies. Sabrina, Lorraine, and Diana had gone silent. But silence wasn't peace, it was strategy. I knew them well enough to recognize it. They weren't done. They were regrouping. Ethan and I carried on with our lives. He worked his shifts at the firm, and I, finally free from the shadow of their voices, threw myself into the design work I'd always been afraid to share. For years, I had sketched clothing in the back of notebooks, too embarrassed to tell anyone. I could already hear Sabrina's cruel laugh in my head. You? A designer? Don't be ridiculous, but now? I didn't care what she thought. I set up a small workspace at home. I sewed late into the night, the hum of the machine filling the silence where their insults used to live. And for the first time, I felt alive. One afternoon, Ethan came home early. He found me surrounded by fabric scraps and half-finished pieces. He leaned on the doorway, smiling softly. You look different, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Different how? Like a woman who stopped waiting for permission. His words sank deep. He was right. Weeks turned into months. My little sketches grew into finished garments. A friend convinced me to post photos online. Then a boutique owner in the city reached out. Then 2 more. Before I knew it, what had once been a secret hobby was becoming something real. The night of the boutique launch, I stood in front of a mirror in one of my own designs, nerves rattling but pride steady. Ethan adjusted his tie and gave my hand a squeeze. This is your night, he whispered. When we walked into the boutique, I froze. They were there, Sabrina, Lorraine, and Diana. Standing near the entrance, dressed to the nines, eyes wide as they took in the banners with my name printed across them, Hannah Whitmore Designs. My breath caught, but Ethan's grip on my hand steadied me. Let them see, he murmured. The boutique was buzzing, fashion writers, local buyers, even a few influencers snapping photos. And there I was, the woman they had forced to carry trays at a party, now standing in the center of a room filled with people celebrating me. Lorraine was the first to speak, her voice cutting through the noise. Hannah, This is yours? I met her gaze, calm but firm. Yes, mine. Sabrina's smile wavered, her words dripping with disbelief. Since when do you do this? Since the day I stopped listening to you, I said evenly. Her face paled, and for once she didn't have a comeback. Diana forced a laugh, trying to regain ground. Well, I suppose all those hours serving food taught you something about presentation. I tilted my head, giving her the faintest smile. No. What taught me was walking away from people who only wanted me small. The weight of my words lingered, not just for them, but for everyone around us who had overheard. For the first time in my life, I didn't shrink under their eyes. I stood taller. The rest of the night was a blur of congratulations, handshakes, and orders placed. Ethan stayed close, proud but quiet, letting me shine. Later, when the boutique finally cleared, Sabrina approached again, her tone softer, almost desperate. Hannah, maybe we should talk. We're still family. I looked at her for a long moment, then shook my head. Family is more than blood. Family is who stands beside you when everyone else tries to break you. And I already have that. I glanced at Ethan, his steady presence by my side. Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. I walked away, hand in Ethan's, my heart lighter than it had been in years. That night, as we drove home under the glow of city lights, I leaned my head against his shoulder. Do you think they'll ever change? I whispered. Ethan's hand tightened around mine. Maybe, maybe not. But it doesn't matter anymore. You've changed. That's what counts. I closed my eyes, the weight of his words wrapping around me. He was right, because the real revenge wasn't their shame. It was my freedom, and I had finally claimed it.